Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all joyous and suffering beings everywhere. So we're studying the Gita. We're on chapter 10, Divine Glory. And what we're about to hear is the definition of someone who has realized the divine being. In other words, has had nirvikalpa samadhi. So this is not the lower samadhi, savikalpa samadhi, which is still a dualistic experience. This is the non-dual experience that Krishna starts off with. Who truly knows me in manifold being, everywhere present and all pervading, all prevailing and all prevailing, dwells in my yoga that shall not be shaken. So in other words, once you've had the realization of nirvikalpa samadhi, once that has been your condition, it's not something that can ever be shaken. Your perspective is entirely and completely forever changed. Of this be certain, I am where all things began, the issuing forth of all creatures, known to the wise in their love when they worship with hearts overflowing. Now this is the counterpart to the Advaita realization. It is the experience of bhakti, of devotion. I am where all things began, the issuing forth of the creatures, known to the wise in their love when they worship with hearts overflowing. Because they understand intuitively what it is they're worshiping. Their hearts overflow, their love is unbounded. Mind and sense are absorbed. I alone am the theme of their discourse. Thus delighting each other, they live in bliss and contentment. This is the community of the spiritual aspirants as they come to reach their goal. If you want to know how that might be, read the later chapters of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, first as the direct disciples, those who are about to become the monks of the Ramakrishna order and the nuns of what later became Saradamat, how they lived together, and then after the master's passing, how they lived at the Bharanagar Mat and so on. Thus delighting each other, they live in bliss and contentment. Always aware of the Lord are they, and ever devoted. And again, you'll read of this in the later chapters, the chapters after the master's passing. M, the compiler of the gospel, tells of their lives together. It's really quite joyous and inspiring. Therefore, the strength of their thought is illumined and guided. Therefore, the strength of their thought is illumined and guided toward me. There in the ignorant heart where I dwell, by the grace of my mercy, I am knowledge, that brilliant lamp, dispelling its darkness. So even in the ignorant, Krishna dwells in the heart. There in the ignorant heart where I dwell, by the grace of my mercy, I am knowledge, that brilliant lamp dispelling its darkness. Arjuna, you are Brahman, the highest abode, the utterly holy. All the sages proclaim you eternal, Lord of the Devas. Saintly Narada knew you, the birthless, the everywhere present. Devala echoed your praise, Ashita too, and Vyasa. Now I also have heard, for to me your own lips have confirmed it. Now I, Arjuna is speaking for himself and for all of us. Now I also have heard, for to me your own lips have confirmed it, Krishna. This is the truth that you tell. My heart bids me believe you. So let us join him in that belief. God of gods, Lord of the world, life's source, O King of all creatures, how shall Deva or Titan know all the extent of your glory? You alone know what you are by the light of your innermost nature. And it's only when we become one with the divine in this highest samadhi that we attain that knowledge. You alone know what you are in totality by the light of your innermost nature. Therefore, teach me now and hold back no word in the telling. All the sum of your shapes by which the three worlds are pervaded. Tell me how you will make yourself known to my meditation. Show me beneath what form and disguise I must learn to behold you. Let's hear that question again. Tell me how you will make yourself known to my meditation. Show me beneath what form and disguise I must learn to behold you. Number them all, your heavenly powers, your manifestations. Speak, for each word is immortal nectar. I never grow weary. Sri Krishna. O Arjuna, I will indeed make known to you my divine manifestations, but I shall name the chief of these only, for of the lesser variations in all their detail, there is no end. Why? Because the divine being is infinite, eternal. There is no end to as he said, of the lesser manifestations in all their detail, there is no end. I am the Atman that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. Notice he doesn't restrict it to human beings. This is why Swami Vivekananda said, where shall we go to find God if not in our own hearts and in every living being? I am the Atman that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. What does this mean to us? We must treat every mortal creature as the divine presence. I'll remind you of this story of Holy Mother living in Jairambati. There was a cat that was part of the household. Like all cats, the cat was sometimes mischievous. There were a number of brahmacharis that lived with Mother, not in the same house with her, but they were there to care for her. And so they were in and out. And one day the cat misbehaved, and one of the brahmacharis picked up the cat by the nape of its neck and was going to give it a whack. And Mother, he was put out by how the cat was being so mischievous. He picked up the cat, was going to give it a whack, and Mother suddenly and sharply said, "Don't beat that cat. I am in that cat. Don't beat that cat. I am in that cat. I am the Atman that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of all. I am Vishnu." What does this mean? Vishnu is the sustainer and protector. Brahma is the creator aspect of the divine being, the first of the three sons. Vishnu, the second, the sustainer and protector. And then Shiva, the transformer. He's often called the destroyer, but he only destroys that which is, so that something new can emerge. So he's a transformer. I am Vishnu. I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am Marichi, the wind god. Among the stars of night, I am the moon. Now, doesn't that give us a new perspective on the moon? Among the stars of night, I am the moon. I am the Samaveda. I am Indra, king of heaven. Of sense organs, I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. So all consciousness is Krishna. Of sense organs, I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. Now, what does Krishna say about the mind? Arjuna complains that the mind is so restless, so hard to control. And Krishna tells him, this was back in chapters 3 or 4, I've forgotten which, he says, yes, it's restless, but if you persist, it will come under control. And that's because it is Krishna himself. He just says it. He will come under control and stop being so restless, capricious, whimsical, if your earnest desire is to have it so. I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. I am Shiva. I am the Lord of all riches. I am the spirit of fire. I am Meru among the mountain peaks. Mount Meru is very sacred. Probably at that time thought of as the highest peak. Know me as Brihaspati, leader of the high priests. Brihaspati is the guru, the instructor of the devas. He lives in a heavenly abode, and when he says leader of the high priests, he means I am the instructor of all of those in that realm. Know me as Brihaspati, leader of the high priests, and as Skanda, the warrior chief. I am the ocean among the waters. I am Brigu, the great seer among worlds. I am Brigu, the great seer. Among words, I am the sacred syllable Om. I am the vow of Japam. I am Himalaya among the things that cannot be moved. Now, what does it mean, the vow of Japam? If we make a vow, and this is done sometimes by agreement with your teacher, with your guru, that I will say my mantra a certain number of times per day or per week or per month. Krishna says, I am that vow. So we can expect to have the help of Krishna, the help of the divine being in fulfilling that vow, if we're sincere in making it in the first place. I am the vow of Japam. I am Himalaya among the things that cannot be moved. I am the holy fig tree. The holy fig tree is the one whose roots are in heaven and whose, I've forgotten the name of that tree. If anybody else remembers it, please say it. I am the holy fig tree. Roots in heaven, branches here on earth, and the figs, of course, are the fruit of experience. I am Narada, the godly sage. I am Narada, the godly sage. Chira, oh my goodness, pardon me. Chitra Rata, the celestial musician, and Kapila among the perfected souls. Now, the reason that the Kapila is important to us here is the first formulation that with the beginning of the lesser ages, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and now the Iron Age, the left mind became more prominent. Kapila was Krishna himself, he says here, and was the formulator of the first left mind graspable enumeration or counting that made manifestation understandable to the left mind. This is Sankhya. Sankhya. It's very complicated. It's scientific in one sense. It's not scientific in the sense of experimental and repetitive proof like our modern science, which is now very left-brained, very reductionist. The findings were of Kapila, this perfected soul, whose intuition was perfect because he was Krishna himself. And so Sankhya is a way of understanding the world, understanding manifestation, universe. And a tidy little summation of it is in the back of Swami Prabhavananda's translation and commentary on the Gita, the one that we're reading. And it's called the cosmology of the Gita. So Sankhya is a cosmology, a kind of graspable by the left mind way of being. Previously, as you know, those sages who gave us the Vedas and the Upanishads, it was all right mind, all from the heart and the right mind. It was all intuitive. It was not in any way linear. Sankhya is quite tidy and linear. So you can expect, if you study it, to have a way of understanding the world as this first left mind graspable explanation. Any comments or questions about any of that we've read so far? Okay.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, please.
Hey, this is Dennis.
Yes, Dennis.
It seems like Krishna is giving us a pretty comprehensive list, even though he started off saying that he wasn't going to tell us everything because that was just infinite.
Right.
And he says he's our Atman, the consciousness, the moon, the ocean, among other things, and even the word Om. It seems like he's explaining how non-dual he is, like it's everything. And he's
precisely,
just
Dennis. Well grasped, exactly.
Okay, excellent. That's kind of the feeling I get. It's a very loving, peaceful oneness feeling that I get really right here in this chapter. It's just really beautiful. Thank you.
And very well grasped. And remember, the title of the chapter is Divine Glory. So Krishna is trying to give us his some sense, and as you said, so peaceful and soothing, some sense of his being. Oh my goodness, here's another one of those words. Among horses, you may know me as, and I can't pronounce that word, I'm sorry, I just can't read it well enough with my vision.
Brother Shankara. Ucheshwara.
Okay, very good. Say it again, please.
Ucheshwara. Ucheshwara.
Oh, Ucheshwara? Okay. He
Ucheshwara.
was brought forth from the sea of nectar. In other words, he was not born of normal processes. This horse was brought forth from the sea of nectar. I am Airavata among the royal elephants. That must have been some elephant. Did I pronounce that correctly? Airavata?
Yes, Airavata is correct.
I am Airavata among the royal elephants. I am king. I am king among men. So there's, of weapons, I am God's thunderbolt. I am Kamadhenu, the heavenly cow, the wish-fulfilling cow. I am the love god, begetter of children. So this is who we're worshiping on Valentine's Day, by the way. We don't realize the connection, but that's exactly what we're doing when we're giving those Valentines and so on. We're offering a kind of devotion to the love god. I am Kamadhenu, the heavenly cow. I am the love god, begetter of children. I am Vasiki. Is that right? Did I say that right? God of snakes.
It must be Vasuki.
Vasuki? Vasuki, thank you.
Yeah,
I am Vasuki, god of snakes. Thank you, Shailesh. I am Ananta, the holy serpent. Of water beings, I am Varuna. Aryaman among the fathers. I am death. So he is Yama. I am death who distributes the fruit of all action. I am Prahlada, the giant. Among those who measure, I am time. I am the lion among beasts, Vishnu's eagle among birds. Among purifiers, I am the wind. I am Rama among the warriors, the shark among fish, Ganges among the rivers. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual. I am the logic of those who debate. You may remember that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born into a family that was one of those families so skilled in logic and debate. And he himself had absolutely excelled. He was still a very young man and had absolutely excelled. And then he went one time to the house of a saint who practiced devotion. And just like Saint Augustine, the moment he touched the true devotion, everything else seemed dry as straw. And so he came back to his students. He, Chaitanya, came back to his students and was unable to teach them. And they were completely puzzled. What's happened here? And he said, you better find somebody else to teach you this, because all I can do now is chant the name of the Lord. I am the knowledge of things spiritual. I am the logic of those who debate. In the alphabet, I am A, alpha, the beginning. In the alphabet, I am A. Among compounds, the copulative. In other words, that which produces something beyond itself. I am time without end. I am the sustainer. Again, that's another name for Vishnu. I am sustainer. My face is everywhere. I am death that snatches all. I also am the source of all that shall be born. I am glory, prosperity, beautiful speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness. Now, if you remember the Sarva Bhuteshus of the Devi Mahatmya, of the Chandi, this is the same kind of list that he's giving. It's the same attributes. These are the attributes of the divine being in manifestation, whether we see it as the great Devi or whether we see it as Krishna, it's the same. I am the great Sama of the Vedic hymns and the Gayatri among poetic meters. Of the months, I am, oh my goodness, someone help me.
Margashira, the first month.
Okay. Of the months, I am that month. Of seasons, the time of flowers. In other words, spring. I am the dice play of the cunning. If we remember, this whole Kurukshetra war got started because of a dice sharper that was cheating Yudhishthira. And because of Yudhishthira's, he was the eldest of the Pandavas. He had this weakness for gambling. So Krishna's saying, I was that too. I am the dice play of the cunning. I am the strength of the strong. I am triumph and perseverance. I am the purity of the good. Krishna came from the solar clan, the Vrishnis. I am Krishna among the Vrishnis, Arjuna among the Pandavas. So he just tells Arjuna, I am you. I am Krishna among the Vrishnis, Arjuna among the Pandavas, Vyasa among the sages, Ushanas among the illumined poets. Ushanas among the illumined poets. I am the scepter. I'm the master and the mastery of those who rule. In other words, the great kings, the great kshatriyas, he is that power that animates them. I am the scepter and the mastery of those who rule, the policy of those who seek to conquer. I am the silence of things secret. I am the knowledge of the knower. Now these last two, I am the silence of things secret. When we practice meditation, we sink into silence. Our mind becomes still. When we emerge from that state, we know things. We don't know how we know them. It's not logic. It's not intellectualization. It's not thought. And so Krishna says, I am the knowledge of the knower. I am the silence of things secret. When you sink into that silence, you gain access to this. And so he says, I am the knowledge of the knower. O Arjuna, I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me. I'm just letting that sink in. Nothing but Krishna exists. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me. There is no limit to my divine manifestations, nor can they be numbered, O folk consumer. What I have described to you are only a few of my countless forms. Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory, an infinitesimal portion of myself, as it is sometimes translated. Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory. But what need have you, Arjuna, to know this huge variety? Know only that I exist and that one atom of myself sustains the universe. One atom of myself. So before we go on to the next chapter, which is a little after 8:30, any comments or questions or further elaboration that you'd like on anything at all that we've heard or read?
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Hello, Swayam.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I do need some clarification. He says, whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have come forth from a fraction of my power and glory. But earlier he said, I'm the dice play of cunning. So how can we reconcile the negative in which also Krishna exists? Because on the one hand, he says that he is in the powerful, beautiful, and glorious. So to me, that's a little confusing. As it is, it's hard to see the divine in what we consider the negative.
Yes, and this is the confounding nature of our ignorance. We want to insist that the divine can only be this and not that. No. Just as it says in the Devi Mahatmyam, when it's describing the divine being as mother, it says, "O mother," this is Brahma speaking to his mother, Brahma the son speaking to his mother. "O mother, you are the great Devi, the great goddess, as also the great Asuri, the great demoness." As Vivekananda explains at some length, if you go back and read these lectures, the lectures he gave in London in 1895 that are summarized as Jnana Yoga, he explains at some length that it is absolutely beyond logic, it is beyond reason to think that there can be only good in the universe. There must be, when we have duality, when we have time, space, and causation, there must be the dark side. And that too is the divine. It's a manifestation of the divine. It's a very good question, Swayam, and it does confound us. There's no two ways around it. It's very hard to think that which, but if we think of Holy Mother living in Jairambati, they didn't so much come to see her in Calcutta. I don't think there's any instance of them coming to see her in Calcutta. But in Jairambati, her disciples, her devotees who were dacoits would come to see her. Dacoits are criminals. Dacoits are murderers, thieves. They would come to see her in Jairambati. And she would serve them. Well, first of all, those who were around her would, of course, run. "Oh, Mother, these horrible people," because they really are. They look fearsome. They mean to look fearsome. Long, unkempt hair, rough clothing, carrying a big club or some other weapon. People would all run. Mother would say, "Oh, you've come, my child." And she would say to those people who run, "No, no, I will serve them. These too are my children." And she would serve them in exactly the same way as she would serve Saradananda when he came, or Premananda, or any of the other monks of the Ramakrishna order. When he says powerful, he doesn't mean just powerful in the good sense. He means powerful in the negative sense as well. There is a reassuring phrase in the Chandi, however. It says, "Mother, your nature is to subdue the conduct of the wicked." And of course, this is what the Chandi is about. 3 instances in which she does indeed subdue the conduct of the wicked. The most famous of the instances is her battle with Mahisasura, the great demon. But there are 3 instances that are told of. So ultimately, there is a slight predominance. And again, Swamiji explains this in detail in Jnana Yoga in those talks. There's a slight predominance of the light over the darkness. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Brother Shankara. Also, I think until I guess we become more advanced spiritually, it probably helps to remember Holy Mother, and if she can see the divine in the dacoits, then obviously they are divine. So maybe just having that faith, even if we cannot be as kind or loving as Holy Mother was, we can at least mentally feel that yes, they are also divine. I suppose
It
that.
isn't just seeing the divine in them. She acknowledged them as her children. She had created them. These two are my children, she would say. These two are my children. And that's what it says in the Devi Mahatmyam, in the Chandi, about Mother and the Asuras and the Daityas. They too are her children. Like I say, it confounds us.
And actually, I mean, if we look at our own selves, I mean, we also are, we have all the gunas, so, it's there.
Exactly. And this is why St. Francis of Assisi said, true compassion and love can only come from your eyes when you acknowledge you are capable of any act. You too are capable of any act. It may seem impossible to us in the moment, but that's what he said. You cannot be truly compassionate and loving to everything until you acknowledge that you too are capable of being all of it. Very good discussion, Swami. Very good.
Thank you, Brother Shankar.
Anything else, dears?
Brother Shankar, I have a comment to make.
Yes, Haima.
It's the Shakuni, who is Gandhari's brother, had he's the mastermind behind the Kurukshetra war.
Mhm.
He was watching this game he was playing, but he didn't intervene because he wanted to go through all the cycle and got them into the war so that Arjuna can defeat them at the end. So,
Well, the Kauravas had several times tried to kill the Pandavas, tried to suppress them, exile them so that they were powerless.
yes.
All kinds of ugliness. This is the objectification
Yes.
of the end of that age. Unrighteousness, the adharmic, began to gain ascendance.
And we see that type of, our government sometimes, the way things go on, the parallel of Kurukshetra, Mahabharata, so many times we see in our own countries what we do.
Yes, oh yes.
It's
Oh, yes.
true, but at the end, the evil will not win. Evil definitely will not win.
If we stop and think
Yeah.
about what happened during World War II,
Yes.
war wasn't fought just between armies.
Yeah.
Whole populations
So many people.
bombed,
Yes.
shelled,
Yes.
phosphorus fire bombs were dropped on them so that their whole cities were burned.
Yep.
It wasn't just, there was no righteousness left whatsoever in the warfare. It used to be the warfare of the righteous was king against king, king leading his troops,
That's
king
right.
with his sword in hand leading his troops.
Exactly.
If there was a death to be had, he would risk it. By the time we got to this, these asuras who were the leaders of each of the countries in the combatants, they were sitting thousands of miles away. Now, even the combatants, they're doing their dirty work with drones.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. It's all
So
electronic.
the adharma has become total.
Yes.
I kill you without risking my own life. Hey,
One button, one push button,
yeah.
abolish everything, a country.
So you're absolutely right. The
Yes.
adharma had, and this was the objectification of the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Kali Yuga, where Dharma was very hard to come by indeed. That's why we're so fortunate. Just those few of us who are gathered here this evening, we take shelter in the Dharma and in the objectification of the Dharma as Krishna, as Sri Ramakrishna, as Holy Mother, all of this. We take refuge in Dharma.
It's very comforting to know
Oh, it is if we understand it. Yes, indeed.
this. We know the evil will not continue like this. There is an end for the like Mahishasura, like Bhasmasura. They all are devotees of Shiva. At the same time, they asked for their own destruction.
Yes.
They were too greedy about things. That's exactly what's going on now in our world too.
That's what the Ramayana is all about Ravana, the invincible.
But all this, you're right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very uplifting, very uplifting. This whole chapter is extremely uplifting.
As we take refuge there. Yes.
Yes. Very comforting, very comforting.
Anyone else?
Hey, Brother Shankara, I have a question, and if this is too long, I can get it from you another time. When you say we take protection in the Dharma, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Dharma, the short translation of Dharma is righteousness. But what it really means is all of the bright attributes of divine manifestation. All of the and in knowledge, in the knowledge that allows us to understand not just the bright side, but also the necessity of the dark side of the Force, as it's said in the Star Wars movies. So Dharma is, when we, as Haima just said, this chapter is so sweet and reassuring because it tells us that whether we see it or not, whether we have any intellectual grasp of it, and even beyond that, a heart grasp of it, that the divine is everything, everywhere, all pervading, and its aspect for us that is summarized in the word Dharma. The righteousness, the bright attributes of divine being. In the evening prayer, we recite here, breaker of this world's chain. It's said of Sri Ramakrishna, thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills a hoofprint in the clay. The world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills a hoofprint in the clay. So this is the refuge. If we choose to take refuge there with the divine being, then the world's great sea in its wrath seems very different. Doesn't mean it goes away entirely, but it's no longer what it seemed to us when we were prisoners of fear and doubt. Does that get it, or is there something more, Keith?
No, I get it. Thank you.
Okay. Very good question. Anyone else? Okay.
I have one more comment, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Haima.
In silence, which we do the meditation, we have access to our consciousness. Silence gives us access to our consciousness, right? During meditation.
Access may be not exactly the right word.
Okay.
It's simply that our consciousness becomes evident to us.
Okay.
It's always there.
Yes, it's there, right.
It's always there. And so when we get the blocks to our experience of it out of the way,
Mhm.
so it isn't like we're reaching out and getting access to something. No, we simply take away that which is blocking our experience of it.
We remove the toxins.
Yes, we remove the toxins, we remove that which, so consciousness is primary and not plural.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Our experience of awareness, which is our mental reflection of consciousness, is that it is plural.
Mhm.
And that somehow consciousness is secondary. Our awareness is right in our face and consciousness is somewhere behind there. But when we get the vicissitudes, the multiple forms and names of awareness out of the way, then their consciousness is. Bah.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for clarifying.
That was beautifully described, Brother Shankara, the awareness and the singularity and the plurality. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad. Okay, it's 8:55. The next chapter, and by the way, it's intriguing to notice that it's chapter 11. Chapter 11 adds to 2, which is the number of mother. It's 1 is the number of Purusha, 2 is the number of Prakriti, and 3 is the number of their compound. So this is chapter 11, the vision of God in his universal form. Swami Vivekananda remarked, Krishna is nothing but mother's shadow. These are Vivekananda's words. Krishna is nothing but mother's shadow. So what we're going to see here, you may think of as the description of the universal form of that which is casting the shadow. So I won't start this chapter until next week. But we certainly did get a heartful in chapter 10, Krishna's long iteration is attempt to give to to Arjuna, which remember always, Arjuna is every person. Arjuna is us. Is giving to Arjuna some sense of who the shadow is. And that's pretty amazing. But now we're going to have the experience, along with Arjuna, of, because Krishna gives Arjuna divine sight, none of this can be seen with the physical eyes, it's said. Arjuna asks for and receives the ability to experience the divine in its universal form. So that's what we'll take up next week. Is there anything else? Any other comment or question before we sign
Yep.
off?
Brother Shankara, since we have a couple of minutes,
Yes, Swam.
in one of the places he says, how shall the Deva or the Titan know all the extent of your glory? What does he mean? Who's the Titan?
Oh, there's a form of divine being, giants. They live in a different realm than us. They have taken form from time to time. There have been giants on earth. Goliath is an example. And he was of a race of giants. He wasn't just by himself. But they're celestial beings, the Devas and so on. And the Devas do not have the capacity for, and the Titans, these celestial beings, there are other forms, Gandharvas, the musical beings and so on. They don't have the ability to divest themselves of their experience of duality. Human beings are unique in this capacity. We have the ability to divest ourselves of the life of duality and come to the realization of unity, of Advaita. No other beings have that capacity. The Devas, the Titans, the Gandharvas, they can all get glimpses of it. They can be taught it. Brihaspati teaches them this. But they can't hold it. They can't hold it. They do not have the capacity for nirvikalpa samadhi. Does that get it?
Yes, thank you, Brother Shankara.
There's a whole host, as we'll hear in this next chapter, there's a whole host of different kinds of celestial beings. But somehow, it's only in human form that we have the ability to actually live in a state of non-duality. If you want to understand what I'm saying more in detail, read the last 3 chapters of Adi Shankaracharya's Crest Jewel of Discrimination, Viveka Chudamani. What it means to live in this state. You can then also, see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, he went to Benares at one time and encountered someone whose name was Trilanga Swami. Trilanga Swami didn't utter a word, barely ate anything. He lived, absolutely lived in the state of non-duality. And Sri Ramakrishna was very respectful. So we'll leave it at that and take it up next week. It's kind of fun to read chapter 10 if you just go back over it and read it, just to get a sense. Of the stars of night, I am the moon. One time I published a collection of poetry, not my own. It was the poetry of junior high school students. And I was given the privilege of being the chief judge of this poetry contest. And we published a compendium of the winners of the various categories. And it was titled Of the Stars of Night, I Am the Moon. What a beautifully poetic phrase. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritangamaya Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved, lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. So good to have been with you all this evening. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. Oh, in Mother's divine embrace and in her protective mantle.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
All righty.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Good.
Thank you, Brother
Good.
Shankara.
See you again
Saturday.
as soon as Saturday, I guess.
Yes.
For those of you who wish to join in. Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.